Good afternoon, friends. It is good to see you all on the Zoom here. And so I would like to introduce myself. I am Robert Besser, the Director of the Center for Congregational Connectional Resources and Conference Treasurer. And it is good to see all of you this afternoon here. As you probably know, property and casualty insurance for local churches have become increasingly expensive, and many of our churches have had cancellations of their policies or escalating cost, sometimes 2 or 3 times greater than their current policy is. And so it's placed a significant financial burden on our churches. And so, as a proactive response, your annual conference board of trustees met and established a task force. So the task force has met a couple of times or a few times to explore and propose recommendations that we can implement to deal with these challenges. We've interviewed some companies and have investigated some short-term solutions that will hopefully provide immediate relief. One of those short-term solutions is what we're doing tonight, the ABCs of property and casualty insurance for local churches. And with me tonight is the Reverend Dr. Will Reed, and Will and I work together in the conference office under the Center for Connectional Resources. Will is our Chief Operations Officer. So I'm going to invite Will to speak and introduce our speaker for this evening.
Thanks, Robert. So one of my joys over the past month or so is getting to know Brenda Thomas a little bit. Brenda has been serving on our the task force we created, and Brenda brings to us a lot of wisdom and skills, and actually interest in working with local churches because of her background. So she does serve as a member of the local church insurance task force. She is an independent insurance agent, senior vice president and risk manager with Hibbs-Hallmark, working out of Tyler in East Texas. She also has been doing this for 44 years. I think that gives her a little credibility. But she understands churches. Because in addition to her professional pursuits, she has connections to the United Methodist Church. Her father-in-law, her husband now deceased, her brother, all have served as pastors in the Texas Annual Conference of the United Methodist Church. And so, Brenda, it is an honor to have you with us today, and we are grateful for your willingness to share your wisdom with us. So let me let you share your wisdom, and at the end, we'll have questions, okay?
Perfect. Thank you. It is an honor to be here, and hopefully I can make some things make a little more sense as we walk through this process, and maybe give you some tools as to know maybe the direction you should do and go. And I very much realize that we'll have churches of all sizes represented here. We'll have different situations. We'll have some churches in East Texas. We'll have some churches coastal, and all of those variances do kind of change some of the responses I will have. But hopefully I can give you some direction on what to do in advance, what to expect right now, and also some information on how do I explain this to my own finance committee, to my members of my church. How do I explain this increase? And I'll be the first to say, if you have not received an increase, that's a miracle. So just say thank you to the Lord for that, because that is extremely rare in what's happening right now in Texas. So we're gonna jump into this. Just real quickly, you're not gonna see my face very much until the end, because I want you to see the presentation and be able to comprehend kind of what's going on here. Again, I'll give you a brief
You don't
overview.
have Gordon's number in you?
Looking for it, I don't.
There will be an opportunity just realize that you will be able to do give questions. So if something comes to mind, jot it down so that we can talk about it, because I'm here to help you and to help your church. So with that, we're going to start sharing the screen, and give us 1 second to do that. Okay, so when we talk about, hopefully we're good. When we talk about the ABCs of property and casualty insurance, what we're going to do is, obviously there's my information, but I want to go to the agenda. And what we're going to talk about today is property in Texas, property insurance in Texas, how to choose an insurance company, how to choose an insurance agent.
Billy needs some help, but let me let you talk.
The time guideline in regards to how this process should work, and preparing data for your insurance agent when you're beginning to get ready for your insurance renewal. So I'm going to teach you some of the things to do to help make the process go smoother. And then I'm going to show you some tools that I use to prepare when I'm working for a particular church. There's some tools that I use to gather all my data. So I'm going to share that with you so that.
Yeah, we got it. It says mute.
Will, do I need to continue or just
go ahead and continue, and I'll mute when I need to.
All
Please
right.
do your best to everyone to mute. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll first of all, just want you to know that what I present here, obviously I'm doing the best job I can based on where we are now in the insurance market. You need to know things are changing daily. So what one insurance company is doing today could very well change tomorrow. So for purposes of this training, we're not going to focus on specific insurance companies. We're going to talk about how for you as your church to prepare and also to have to plan financially and what you might can do to save some money. So let's jump into what's happening or has happened in the state of Texas. It is not unique to the state of Texas. However, you'll see in this presentation that we have some problems in Texas. So a lot of the slides I'm going to show you just quickly come from a resource. It's the National Centers for Environmental Information. And we're going to just focus, for the purpose of this, focus pretty much on what happened in 2023 in Texas in regards to catastrophic losses. So the first thing you'll see in this slide is that there were 28 weather and climate disasters in 2023. They are tallying a price tag of almost 93 billion, and most likely this number has changed because this was early on in 2024. So these expense of these disasters is just incredible. So we're having horrible events. We're having windstorm, we're having hail damage, we're having fires. The droughts and the fires in Texas are just took us, I think, a lot of us by surprise last year. This particular diagram is very useful, and so what this is showing is it's showing the entire United States, but it will give you a perspective of the attention that we're getting from insurance companies in regards to what's happening in Texas. So this shows in 2023, the $1 billion weather and climate disasters. So if you look, there are, what, 6 of those that touch Texas, maybe 7. So when an insurance company is looking at where are we going to do business, they see this map, they see this history, and they're like, wow, there's a problem in Texas. So that's the first thing when we talk about why is there a problem and what's happening. This illustrates well that. This is another graph. I'm going to just do it quickly, but you can see over time what is happening as far as disasters in the United States. So they're just growing out of control. Here, I'd like to point out just briefly that in 2023 alone, there were 28 catastrophic losses. And so you can see the average cost of those claims. And even when you go back up one of those, you see a combined feature of 3 years. You can see historically, we're running about 22 claims a year. And the cost of those claims continue to skyrocket. The next slide that I think I want you to see, and this one is the one that just hits home to me. So you see the dark states, and there are 3 of them. Those are 3 states in the entire United States that have exceeded $300 billion each in catastrophic losses. So it's Texas, it's Louisiana, and Florida. You can see that, again, this is why insurance is a problem. This is why some insurance companies are either saying, we're not going to write your property any longer, or they're saying, we're going to double your costs, or they're just saying, we're not writing in Texas at all. So, and then also on top of that, some of those insurance companies have taken a huge financial hit, and so their financial stability themselves is in question. So let's take a look a little bit deeper, and I'm not going to labor on this, but here is a website that shows you hail events in Texas in 2024. So this is page 1 that you're looking at now, and actually will show you the date of the event and where it happened. But we can actually go back 16 pages before we get to 2023. So again, I would think that almost every one of y'all may find your own town in this chart, that you've had some sort of weather event and most likely either wind or hail in your town in 2024, certainly 2023. So that being said, what I've said to you is, if you're a church that has had no losses, no claims in 5 years, or no claims in 10 years, it's going to be really difficult for you to understand and explain to your members, why is our insurance doubling? Why is our deductible going up? And so, because when you just take a snapshot of just your experience, it's very possible that you've had nothing and nothing ever, and no claims. However, you're not going to be immune to this situation. And it's important for you to realize that. Don't assume that because you've had no losses, you are not going to be impacted by what's happening in the insurance market. That is the intent and the purpose of this particular presentation, is to help you prepare. The better you are prepared, the more information you can provide to your insurance agent, the better job they can do for you. So let's talk about insurance companies for a minute. And the reason why I want to go over this is because it helps you understand how to choose an agent and what your agent should be doing for you. So first of all, there are what we call standard insurance companies that are licensed to do business in Texas, and are regulated by the state of Texas. They have to, and when you do business with these standard insurance companies, there are a lot of protections there for you. First of all, there are consumer protections laws that the insurance company has to comply with. And then the state of Texas actually also has what's called a guarantee fund. And that fund is there to pay claims if an insurance company goes insolvent. And it also has a small amount of money to refund your money to you if they go insolvent. Now, I will say that is nothing that you should depend upon. When you're choosing an insurance company, you want to choose one that is financially stable. And I'm going to teach you how to look at that and understand that in the process of getting quotes. So the next type of insurance company is referred to as a non-admitted or a surplus lines or an excess and surplus lines market. So different than the standard or the admitted market we just talked about is the regulations upon them in the state of Texas are very limited. So they can choose what coverages they offer. They can choose what rates they charge. They basically can set their own standards of what they're going to do and what they're not going to do. That is not necessarily bad. You just need to be very careful. And when I say you, that's really should be the responsibility of your insurance agent. However, I want you to be informed about a non-admitted company. And one of the easiest ways you will know if the company you're looking at, as far as doing business with, is non-admitted would be if you see taxes and fees being charged. That's the simplest way I can help you with that. However, your agent should be disclosing that to you. And again, if they're non-admitted, there is no guarantee fund out there. So be careful, be careful, be careful. Not worried, just careful and cautious. Then the other two, I'm just going to touch on briefly, but not really necessary for us to go into. There are some situations where government has stepped in and formed some options like a wind pool. So there are government formed sponsored plans sometimes. And then there's also the what a financial institution or a bank may insist upon, that if you have no insurance and they're holding a lien on your property, they may do what's called forced place property insurance. So your bank, if you have a mortgage, is not going to let you go without insurance. So those are just some components you need to be aware of. Now, when you go and you're looking for an insurance company, there is what I would call a distribution system. And so there are, I refer to them as a direct writer. There are insurance companies that their salesman can only sell their product. They cannot sell other company products. So you would have an agent that is employed by the insurance company, and they are a direct writer. So, and they are restricted as to what they can do. So they can bring you their one option, but they normally, in most cases, do not have the ability to provide other options for you. They're unable to shop around, is the best way I can say that, to secure other insurance for you. Now, I made a very broad statement there. There are a few exceptions to that, but for the most part, this is a true statement. So next, we have what we call an independent insurance agent or broker. These are the salespeople out there that represent several different companies. They can offer a broad range of insurance products property, liability, cyber liability, workers' comp, directors and officers coverage, sexual abuse. They can do all of that. In addition, their agency probably can sell other things too. Life insurance, health insurance, personal lines insurance. So they have the ability, they have direct contracts with insurance companies, and they also have the ability to go through what we call surplus lines brokers to get to even additional companies. And then there is a surplus lines broker. Again, that's just an avenue for the independent agent to go to find you more options. And there's also what's called a managing general agent that has an exclusive to underwrite and issue policies for a particular company. But we're going to focus today on independent insurance agents. And I'm going to give you another statement. The agent you choose, in my opinion, during this market time needs to be an independent insurance agent. They have more options for you. They have more solutions for you. So I want you to get to consider that strongly, is that's what you need to do. We're going to talk briefly about insurance companies and financial stability because it's important. So there are rating systems out there that actually monitor the financials of an insurance company, and they place a financial rating on that insurance company. It's important to know this because this is how you would gauge, can this insurance company pay my claims? Or are they in financial trouble? Are they upside down? Are they being reviewed by the rating company? Are they under review? Are they under supervision? Those terms all indicate this company has a problem, and we need to be concerned. There are 4 primary rating companies that stand out. They are AM Best, Standard & Poor's, Moody's, and Demotech. The most highly recognized rating system is AM Best. AM Best, here is an example of the AM Best rating scale. So you'll see A+, A, you can go across and see that those are superior. A+ is superior, A- is excellent, B+ is good, B is fair. So the companies that I currently sell and that are available out on the market are all A-rated carriers. So my advice here would be, if you can find one, you should always do business with an A-rated insurance company. And in a rating system, which I did not do here, there's a financial size component also. So it goes from 1 to 15. And so the financial size matters also. Obviously, the larger the size, the more stable the insurance company as far as monies to pay claims. Now, we're going to move on to choosing an agent. I already hit home really hard about a direct writer versus an independent agent. Hopefully, I've made that point that an independent agent is going to have more options for you to consider. Now, there's a reason why I'm going to make this statement, and I'm going to cycle back to it, but I also recommend that you consider using only one agent. And I'll explain that in a minute. And that agent should have years of experience. You want to find an agent that has several years of experience, has been doing this for a long time, has even some designations behind them. And I'm not talking about school designations. I'm talking about designations directly related to insurance. You want to know there are a lot of education processes out there. You want to know that your agent has done multiple education processes, and they are continuing. They continue to further their education on a regular basis. The next thing you should ask if you're choosing an agent is, what markets that you represent that write churches? Not what markets do you have, but what ones do you have that write churches? That is critical. And so if you're going through a process of, look, oh, I have 2 agents here that I'm considering, ask them to send you a list of the markets that they represent and can get to for your church. So that will tell you this particular one has more options. They can get to more places for me, and they have the years of experience, they have the designations, and so that will help you determine which agent to use. Now, obviously, we always think the more the better. But in the world we're in, I'm going to explain to you, and this has changed a little bit recently based on what's happening in property insurance in Texas. So what is happening, especially in regards to churches, is those companies that insure churches are being inundated with submissions, because there are several insurance companies that are non-renewing their churches. They're pulling out of Texas. And so the others that are still in Texas, this happened quickly. And so they're not fully staffed with trained underwriters. So they have to make a decision, which account am I going to work first? Which submission am I going to work first? So, and I want you to hang with me for just a minute. So if you've gone and hired 3 agents to try to find you options, and those 3 agents send your church submission to, I'm going to say, let's just call it Crossroads Insurance Company. And let's just say Crossroads Insurance Company gets 3 submissions from 3 different agents. The underwriter is going to say, I have less of an opportunity to write this account. There are too many agents involved. So I'm not going to work this one. I'm going to work this other submission that came in that I've only seen from 1 agent. And that agent has an exclusive appointment, because I have that insurance company, Crossroads Insurance Company, says I have a better opportunity to write that. Another important factor of why you should choose your agency wisely or your agent wisely is because if they are not professional in how they prepare the submission that goes to the insurance company, if they don't do a thorough job, if they don't know what they're doing, and they send an halfway completed submission to an insurance company, once again, that's going to be weeded out. The underwriter is going to say, this one's too much trouble. It's messy. I'm going to have to ask a million questions. I'm not touching this one. So again, you need to hire a professional agent that knows how to do your submission to your insurance company complete and very thorough and very professional. The other point I want to make, the last point in this little bulletin, is that the other thing that happens is insurance companies work on a first come, first served basis. So if you have 3 agents involved, whichever agent gets there first is the one that's recognized as the appointed agent with that insurance company. So again, let's say you've got 3 agents. They all submit it to Crossroads Insurance Company. The first one that gets there does not have their submission complete. So the insurance company probably is not going to even look at the other two submissions because they can't. First come, first serve. The one they look at is incomplete. They're going to set it aside. So again, this is kind of changed recently because of what is happening in Texas, and the underwriters are having to make decisions. Which account am I going to work? Now, next thing I want to talk to you is about time guidelines. So just what I explained, the insurance companies are covered up with submissions. They don't have adequate staffing to manage those submissions. So therefore, it is taking longer to turn out quotes. It is, you may find yourself in a mess with no coverage if you think waiting till 30 days out is plenty of time to pursue your insurance quotes. So I've given you here a suggestion. One, no matter where you are in the process, get started now. That's the first thing I'll say. But I would say 180 days out from your expiration date, start finding your agent. Select that agent right up front. And then in the 90 to 120 day time, get your data to the agent. That is a process that takes time. And we're going to go over that a little bit and what's involved in that. But work with your agent, give them a full 30 days to get all the pieces together. And some of those pieces they're going to gather, and some of them are what we call supplemental applications. So just so that you kind of understand, so out of the companies that we represent, each of those companies have their own supplemental. So what we attempt to do as an agency is complete as most of what we can for you, and then have a conversation about the items that are missing. So instead of just sending you a blank 10-page application and say, complete this, we try to start that very early on, do as much as we can for you, gather more in a verbal conversation, and then the leftover pieces, we'll send you the application and say, there's 5 more questions here we need for you to answer. So again, that's the importance of choosing an agent that knows what they're doing and has been doing it. So you get that, the agent gets their data, completes their applications. The 90-day mark is where the agent needs to be in submitting that to their insurance markets. That'll give them a good 60 days to get the quotes in, so that you can have your quotes 30 days out, have time to review them, ask questions, present it to your finance committee or your board of trustees or whatever the governing board is that's in charge of insurance. So they would have some time to make a good decision. Now, I'm going to talk about, what do I do? How can you get started now? In addition to choose that agent, here's some suggestions. I always ask for current policies. That is not because I'm just going to copy what that other company is doing or the other agent is doing. It's just a good starting point. It makes the process go quicker. They're going to ask for 5 years of loss information. Now, this is something that really can't be old information. It needs to be dated somewhere in between that 120-day mark out. But basically, you ask your agent for it. I need 5 years of loss runs so that the agent that you've decided to use can see, okay, we have 1 property loss, we have 1 open claim, we have 4 liability losses. And they also can have conversations with you about, tell me about this claim, tell me what happened, tell me because that agent must sell your account to the insurance company. And it's more difficult if you have an open property claim, it becomes very hard for the agent. And so they're going to want to know a lot of details about that open claim. Where are you in making the repairs on your property? Where are you in the process? There's such an item is called a sworn statement of values. I'm going to just mention that because later in this presentation, I'm going to show you the example of what we use in our agency to gather the data. You should have something similar in order to consolidate your information for your agent. You should prepare a vehicle schedule. That is year, make, model, vehicle ID number of your vehicles. Again, we use a schedule to gather that information. You should have a driver's list, a list of the individuals that drive on a regular basis for your church. Their name, date of birth, driver's license number. Workers' compensation requires, what are your annual payrolls? How many employees do you have? That is, again, is something you can go ahead and have prepared. Most insurance companies are going to ask for your financials. They do not have to be audited, but they want to see a revenue and expenditure statement. They want to see what kind of revenue you have coming in, what your balance sheet looks like. So photos on each building. With Google Earth, that things become a little bit easier to view. But however, Google Earth, sometimes it's just a snapshot in time, and it may look like your roof is horrible, and you may have a new roof, and it's just that snapshot is old. And so sometimes it's very helpful to get photos of those buildings. Front and back of each building is always great. If you are, I will say, if you are nearby, an insurance agent can do that for you. However, to speed up the process, I just go ahead and have that ready, because anything you can do to speed up the process, get your submission to the insurance company, the better off you're going to be. They're going to always ask, what's your sexual abuse management plan? What do you say you can do and can't do? What do you say, Pastor, you have to have someone always present when you're counseling, or always in view when you're counseling, or this is how we handle underage children. This is our rules. This is our procedures. They're going to want to see that you have that in place. That does not have to be elaborate. They just want to know that you realize that you must do background checks on volunteers. You must have rules and controls in place so an adult cannot be with a child. And they want to see that. And then if you have a church policy and procedure manual, great. Give your agent an electronic copy of that. Again, these are all things you can start gathering now to make this process go better. The more thorough and the more information you give the insurance company, the more likely you're going to get a good quote with good coverages and potentially control your costs when they see these things are in place. One thing I didn't mention, but security measures are important. Do you have cameras? Do you have fire suppression systems? Do you have alarms? So that's one thing that we put on our property sworn statement of values. But the more that they can see about how you secure your premises, how you protect them, what systems you have in place to protect them, the better. Yeah, let's go ahead and talk now about that sworn statement of values. This is an example of what we use in our agency. So you can see that we, get normal things, number of buildings, how the building's occupied, what the address is it one story, when was it built? That's real important. How many stories are there? What is that building made out of? Is it made out of wood, or is it steel beams and brick? What's the square footage? What's the roof made out of? And then most important, what have you done to maintain your property? When's the last time you updated your roof? When's the last time you updated your wiring, your plumbing, your heating? Do you have smoke detectors? Do you have alarms? Do you have a sprinkler system? Does the sprinkler system protect the entire building or just a portion of it? Is your church inside the city limits? Do you have a fire department that responds? How close is that fire department? Do you have a fire plug outside your building? Again, all of this is so relevant to the insurance company. And again, if you say, well, we really haven't done anything to the plumbing, then I even in my little program I use, I want to know, well, then tell me what you do to maintain it. Are you doing regular inspections on your roof, your wiring, your electricity? What are you doing to tell me you're maintaining your property? Anytime there's a problem, you're fixing it immediately. The air conditioner breaks, you're fixing it immediately. You're making sure that the drains are cleaned out, or you have them serviced on the air conditioning units. You have them serviced. So if you can tell your agent that, the better off you'll be, and the more likely you will be to get a good property insurance quote. So in my workbook, and that's what we're seeing, I do other things. So we determine the replacement cost on property. Here's an example of my vehicle schedule. Here's an example of the driver's list, gathering the payroll. And then last is something I do to submit to the insurance companies, and that is do a clear 5-year history of who you were with, what insurance company you've been with, the number of claims you've had, and the amount of losses that have been paid out, and are any of those losses still open or still in reserve? So that I mainly showed you that to say there, it's good to have a system to gather all that information. Next. Oh, actually, I'm open for questions. Do you have any questions at all? Okay, I either put you to sleep or
I have one actually. What are the odds of a church that's over 100 years old being reinsured? We're in the process now. We're about to lose our insurance come July 27th. And Church Mutual told us that they were going to drop us because of the age of the church building, which the church was remodeled a few years ago. And we've had 2 claims. They went back to 2018 and 2021. So my concern is any company going to reinsure us based on the age of the building?
Okay, so my answer to that is maybe. So, and I say that, but I heard some things that I liked there. I hear that you remodeled. I heard you say that. Well, then again, that's that picture that you need to be painting. You need to be saying, we did these changes. We put a new roof on at this time. And so remodeling, if it's remodeling is just painting, that's not as important as the other items that I mentioned. But if you have done, it's important to be able to say what you do to keep your beautiful old church in good condition. They're going to want to know that. They're not going to be as alarmed about an older church if you maintained it. But if you're not maintaining it and you have claims, it could be difficult. Again, give your agent time to do a great job. That agent needs to be out to the markets now. When is your expiration date? Is it soon?
It's July the 27th.
Okay. So my advice is get your agent busy now.
One of the things I heard also is that it was one of the regular insurance companies, not an independent agent. So Brenda, would they need to begin looking for an independent agent instead of a company that is an agent that is just working for one company?
Yes, so if you have an agent and that's Church Mutual's direct as a direct writer, if that's, and there are exceptions to that, but for the most part, if you have an agent that just sells direct Church Mutual, you're going to need to find another agent. It's real important.
There is a question, a couple of questions in the chat. One, can we have a copy of the slides? And I'm hoping that you will provide that. We can provide it to everybody.
Yes.
Then
I don't have a problem with that.
Sure. There's a question here. It says, is there, generally speaking, a penalty to leaving an insurance company for a new one that would follow the church over time and make them less likely to be picked up in the future for coverage?
Okay, let me make sure I understand the question. So if you voluntarily change to another insurance company and you do that in the middle of the policy term, there is a penalty for early cancellation. That's normally you lose about 10% of your premium. Now, if you're saying, is there a penalty just because Church Mutual has non-renewed me? And we'll just say Church Mutual because that's commonly what's happening. But is that a bad thing if Church Mutual has non-renewed me? Non-renewal sometimes does have a negative connotation. However, those insurance companies out there that write churches know what Church Mutual is doing. So it does not make you bad if you've been non-renewed by Church Mutual. Everybody knows what's happening.
Church Mutual, I've heard different numbers, roughly 3,000 churches canceled in Texas, something like that. And
they are often a few renewals, but and some of them they're saying we'll stay on everything but the property. So it's random how they're doing it. But if you are with Church Mutual, don't wait till you get that non-renewal notice, because by law they only have to give you 60 days. I think Church Mutual's being a little bit more gracious than that, but by law your insurance company only has to give you 60 days of non-renewal notice. Don't wait on that.
So the question about a penalty comes from Preston Morgan, and I'm not sure I fully understand the question either if I read it. Preston, would you mind unmuting and letting us know your question, more about your question?
Yes, I think you pretty much answered it with with your first answer. I was just curious if you were to voluntarily leave your insurance and went to a cheaper package somewhere, if that stuck with the portfolio of the church over time. So if in the future other insurance agencies would be less likely to want to insure you.
My answer would be no, but they're going to ask. They're going to ask, why did you have a short-term policy here, and for what reason did you change? A good underwriter will want to know that. So, and you may find yourself, and if you're down 30 days out and you're just now starting the process, you may find yourself needing to have something, and it might not be your best option, but it's something. And then later on, you might find a better option. So we're going to see some of that. Does that help you?
Yeah, absolutely. My second question was, is there a better time of year when rates might be cheaper? Meaning, like, is there the fall, the summer, after hurricane season? Is there just kind of a seasonality that is more advantageous?
Not really, especially not now. But no, not really. And when you're talking about standard markets, they have to file their rates. So it's not like they can just change them back and forth. There's a process that they have to file the rates in the state of Texas. So no, not really.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Brenda, here's another question. The application we just submitted wanted to know if we have all volunteers trained in safe sanctuary, even those volunteers that don't have any interaction with children. Is this correct? Must we train every volunteer in safe sanctuary?
My answer to that is no. But So I do think on the application, you should clarify, you should be real clear. We train all of our volunteers that interact, you know, with children, with or I know you have to be even with the elderly. You know, we do train certain types of volunteers on safe sanctuary. If you can, though, and if you want to, that's not bad. But people volunteer all the time. I'm mowing the yard. I don't know if the safe sanctuary is necessary then. I'm not real sure. There may be an insurance company out there that's requiring that. I haven't seen it yet. I'm turning to look at my person I mentor because I haven't seen that yet. And when I say yet, I'm going to remind you, things are changing daily. So that could come up.
I'll answer the next question. The recording will be available. We'll make that available on the link on the website so that folks can go back and look. And here's another question. Is there a list of insurance companies that are writing church policies in Texas?
There's not a formalized list. A good agent will have their own list. They will definitely have that list. So again, I go back to if you're choosing an agent, then you need to get that list of what markets are out there. You need to get that from them and decide, does this agent have access to the markets?
Yeah, my experience, we'll say, in working with an independent agent is that the agent's going to say, we're going to shop this particular issue with these companies because we have had good relationships with these companies. Is that kind of what you're talking about, Brenda?
Sure. And so just so, you know, everybody does things differently. And so I want to be sure I'm clear on this. The intent here is to help you find a good agent. But so what we do is we clearly say up front, these are the markets we have. These are the ones we're going to on your behalf. And then from that point on, we try to give regular updates and we agree on how often do you want to update. We try to give regular updates on the process. How is that going? What company has declined? What is their response? What are their concerns? And so because what we've discovered, one is we were certainly getting several insurance calls from our churches, and rightfully so. But we felt like it was better for us just to be proactive. We're going to give you an update on Fridays about what's happening on your account, because we knew that every Sunday that committee member or that pastor was going to be asked. And so we were trying to solve some little struggles there on y'all's side of the fence when everybody's looking at you like, are we going to have insurance? So we're trying to keep our clients informed regarding that.
Here's another question, Brenda. What about, is it important to have an agent that is in my town, or can I have an agent anywhere in Texas?
You can have an agent anywhere in Texas. Again, the basis of how you choose your agent should be on those points that I made. How educated are they? What are their insurance certifications? How long have they been doing business? And more importantly, what companies do they represent? Ask them to submit you a list of the companies they represent. And that's going to tell you volumes. So an example, because when I engage a client, I give them a list of the companies I'm approaching on their behalf. And it's a page and a half. Now, that covers admitted markets, non-admitted markets, distressed property markets.
Now, remind us what an admitted market is and what a non-admitted market is.
Admitted means they're licensed to do business in Texas. They're a standard insurance market. Non-admitted, not necessarily bad. Non-admitted will charge taxes and fees. You usually go through a broker to get to a non-admitted market. So again, we maintain a consolidated marketing sheet, and we know which companies, what each company will do. It's very, very complicated. And that's why I'm encouraging you to be very careful about your agency. There are some
So-
companies. Yes, sir.
Go ahead. I'll ask a question when you
Go
finish.
ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm good.
So another question that came up, which kind of fits in that same category of what you were just talking about. So you have property insurance, you have casualty insurance, you have workman's comp, you have directors and officers, you may have something for vehicles, different things like that. Is it okay to have those policies with different companies?
Yes.
Is the question that's up here?
Yes. Now, the preference in a perfect world would be to have everything with the same company. Now, however, there are, and I'm going to just use, because I did see that question, workers' compensation, there's a great company out there that's been here a long time, was formed actually by the state of Texas government to create competition, but now they do an incredible job. That's all they do. So yes, at times your directors and officers might be written by a different company. Your cyber liability may be written by a different company. And now, sad to say, your property and liability may have to be separated. It's just the reality of, so that your agent has to kind of have an open mind. Okay, if I have a account that has a property loss, I look at that and I'm like, how big is this loss? Is it still open? This may mean that I have to find a standalone property market and put everything else with the same company except for the property. So again, there's a lot that goes into thinking this through and finding the right spot for your church.
So here's another question. If my church has a long-time relationship with our agent, it will be difficult to leave him or her. So do you have a suggestion on how do we get out of this long-term relationship? So I guess that might mean they have an agent that's with a particular company, for instance, and they want to move maybe to an independent agent or something like that.
Or maybe, Will, that they're a church member.
Yeah, that happens a lot too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would say, first of all, I'd say give that church member a chance. Ask for that list. Ask for that list of markets, and just say we're going to gather and look at what we have to. And I think, especially if they're a church member, they're going to understand that. They're going to understand we have to find insurance coverage, and so this is a time. I didn't really necessarily hear you wanted out of that relationship, but if you do, it's a good time to be able to get out of it because it is a difficult market. And so you're going to have to be sure that you're being very, very thorough in the process. But, and it's difficult because we all want to be loving and kind, but you may just have to have that hard conversation and say, I think it's time, for us to locate an agent who represents more insurance companies and that has more expertise in this matter. But a good agent is probably going to say, I only have one company. You need to go to another agent. Now, if it's really critical and they are a church member and their tithe matters, and I get that, by the way, then you can always pay a fee to have that agent stay still involved and supervise what another agent does. So that's not unheard of, costs you a little bit of money, but that is kind of a way to compromise if you had to.
Okay. The next question is one that I think probably Robert Besser might, or maybe we'll save it to the end. And then there's another question that just came up. I'll ask that one first, then we'll let Robert go back to the question by Vastine Watson. Would selecting quotes from online resources and selecting an agent based on quotes be okay? I'm not sure I fully understand that question. Helen Childs, are you available to say a little bit more about your question?
Yes, I just unmuted. I was just wondering if I came into the meeting a little bit late, but I know that it's being driven by agency and the need to select an agent. I just wanted to know that if we use or can select and compare things from the online resources, and there are millions of quotes in different online pages where you can go and get different quotes and compare them right then, and then maybe select an agent or select what based upon the quote, pursue that line of contact.
I would think that if you're a large church, that's going to be pretty time consuming, and you're not really, most online access will require an agent. They're going to want, and I just caution you a little bit. If I asked, you're looking at property insurance and you have a basic quote and a special quote, what's the differences? If you're doing that online and you don't know the answer to those things, you're might choose an option that will appear cheaper and the quote comes out, but it's not. So don't underestimate the importance of someone that has insurance knowledge.
Yeah.
Okay.
And one thing I'll say to you is the agent that works that only gets paid. They get paid by the insurance company. So you having an insurance agent involved doesn't cost you any more money. They get paid commissions by the insurance company. So my point is, why wouldn't you use someone that has expertise and knowledge, and that's their specialty? They know what they're doing. So I'd encourage you to get one involved from the beginning.
Thank you. And I didn't know that the payments came from the insurance companies and not the solicitor. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Robert, do you want to handle the question from Vastine Watson?
So the question is, are you aware of the concept of churches bundling the policies of multiple churches in a single buy and then being able to share the deductibles?
You want me to take that, Mr. Robert? I can.
Do you mind?
I can. So
Right.
there are all kinds of options out there. Kind of what you described may be what is referred to as a captive. There's all kinds of names out there for different programs, but there are, and I think we'll see more of them pop up. And that is, there are captives out there. Captives normally normally shy away from property risk. So all I have to say once again is be very, very careful. But you should not rule that out. If you're a small church, I'd say no, don't do that. If you're a larger church and you have a very skilled risk manager agent involved, then that is certainly an option that you might want to consider. Now, also, that's the purpose of the task force, is that the task force is just now in the process, but that might be what a solution the task force comes up with. But it's a little too early for that, isn't it, Robert? We're a little ahead of the game, but that's possibly will be out there someday. So
those of you who came on board at the very beginning will know that we've created this task force of persons with experience across the annual conference, invited all the clergy to nominate, suggest persons that they would know. And Brenda was suggested by her brother, who is one of our pastors. And so that's how we found out about Brenda. And in our task force meeting, she has lots of good questions and also other answers to other questions. So we selected and invited her to be a part of this meeting here as we deal with these questions of the ABCs of that. Part two is the longer term solution or possible solutions. This was kind of the immediate short term. This is where we need to be talking.
Trying to help
right
you where you
now.
are right now.
And then the long term is we have entered an agreement with McGriff brokers, insurance brokers. They write policies in along the Gulf Coast, here in Houston and Texas, but also they have an office in Louisiana and other offices as well. And so they are going to be McGriff, and that insurance carrier is going to be at annual conference, have a display table in the displays to be able to talk about longer term solutions, not just this immediate need, as Brenda was sharing, but to look at bundling with insurance, with churches, and look at deductible rates and so forth. That would be a longer term. It won't be anything that will be happening this summer, but we're going to begin. And then on June the 18th at 5:30, which is a Tuesday, June 18th, we'll have a webinar with them, just like what we're doing here, to begin thinking about and talking about bundling and trying to see what else we can do to help churches. But that's more of a long-term solution that won't be immediate. But they'll be at annual conference if you want to visit with them and ask them questions and so forth as we go forward.
There's another question in the chat. Do you have recommendations around insurance companies that handle property and have another policy that covers the content of your building? So, Brenda.
I can address that. Actually, that's possible. That's possible that someone will say, we'll write your contents, but you need to put your building insurance somewhere else. So again, not a bad thing. You would need to just be careful to look at, okay, then how do I'm going to have two different deductibles, because it's possible that you can have building damage and contents. You just need to be sure, how does that work? How do the two coincide? And are there any complications with that? But it is and could very well be something that you need to do. I would think you would need to do that if you have a problem with claims on your building. That's possibly why you would have to do that.
So correct me if I'm wrong, Brenda, but most of what I tend to see is those two together in the same policy. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? The give and take here has been great. So
They're good. They're very good questions.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is, as you know, we've been recording this session. We will post the recording online in the area where the information about this webinar has been. We also will get the slides from Brenda and provide those, make those available as well. Is there anything else that folks are hoping to get out of this that we can provide for you? Robert, anything else we need to get done here?
I just appreciate Brenda and appreciate all of y'all being here. Contact Will or myself, and if you have other questions or want to get in touch with Brenda and have a question for her, you're welcome to do that.
And I am available. That is not necessarily that I'm here, you know, that you need to use me as an agent. I'm here to help. I would rather see church dollars going to missions than to insurance.
Here.
So if I can help, you know, answer some questions or make the process easier for you, just let me know.
Yeah, and I do know that there are a number of people who are on the Zoom today that represent churches that are facing the cancellation of insurance, that are facing significant increases. And if there is any way that I can help, or Robert can help, or Brenda can help, point you in directions that might be potential solutions, we're happy to do so.
And then Brenda, if you'll email your slides to Will and myself, then we can distribute them to the folks.
We sure will. No problem.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for being here this evening. And thank you, especially Brenda as well.